Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. The sharpest blades are never advertised. They're discovered when it's already too late. Most people think relationships are about compatibility, romance, or shared interests. Cute. But when you're dealing with a Sigma female, you're not stepping into a relationship. You're stepping into an unscheduled exam, one you didn't even know you were taking. In fact, studies in behavioral psychology show that highly autonomous individuals often conduct complex subconscious tests on others as a form of self-preservation. And Sigma females have elevated this into an art form. Here's the twist. They don't warn you. They don't hand you a syllabus. And there's definitely no retake. You could be failing miserably right now, while she sips her coffee, nods politely, and mentally closes the file on you. So buckle up. Because today we're diving deep into the test every Sigma female puts you through without telling you. And trust me, these aren't your grandma's dating tests. Number 1. The Existential Depth Measurement. A Sigma female will always measure how deeply you can handle life's uncomfortable questions. She doesn't care if you have a six-figure income or if you're charming at dinner parties. What she's really observing is whether you have the stomach to face the heavy, often unsettling realities that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Life isn't always pretty, and she knows it. The difference is, she doesn't flinch. She leans into the discomfort, and she's silently watching to see if you can do the same. She watches how you react when topics like mortality, failure, loneliness, and the pointlessness of certain struggles come up. She doesn't need you to have all the answers. In fact, she'd be suspicious if you acted like you did. What matters is whether you can sit in those difficult spaces without rushing to distract yourself, sugarcoat things, or throw out some shallow motivational phrase. She sees right through forced optimism because she knows that's just another way people run from reality. A man who can't sit in silence with these truths, who fidgets or changes the subject, signals to her that he's not ready for depth. If you crack a joke to dodge discomfort, or try to fix everything with simple solutions, she notices. She's not looking for a fixer. She's looking for someone who can carry the weight of existence without crumbling. She's lived through her own storms. She's wrestled with questions that don't have tidy answers. She's lost, failed, questioned herself, and yet emerged more self-aware each time. She wants to see if you've done the same. If not, she'll see you as emotionally lightweight. Someone who might be fun for now, but incapable of building something lasting with her. For a Sigma female, depth isn't a preference. It's a requirement. And if you don't have it, she won't explain why you've been disqualified. She'll simply disappear. Number 2. The Energy Drain Audit. A Sigma female doesn't announce this test, but it's one of the most critical ones she runs. Every time you're around her, she's quietly scanning how your presence affects her energy. She's not doing this consciously out of arrogance. It's pure survival. She knows how precious her mental and emotional energy is, and she guards it like gold. If being around you feels like work, she registers that almost immediately. If conversations feel heavy, forced, or leave her mentally exhausted, you're already failing. She may smile politely, nod at the right moments, and keep the small talk going, but inside, she's made her decision. She doesn't tolerate people who dump their problems on her without invitation. She's not a therapist, a dumping ground, or an emotional garbage can. She pays close attention to whether you can self-regulate or whether you rely on others to clean up your emotional mess. Constant complaining, unnecessary drama, or fishing for attention signal to her that you're a drain, not a source, and she's ruthless about protecting her peace. She's also watching if you bring something positive to the interaction. That doesn't mean you have to entertain her or be fake. It means, do you have your own inner stability? Are you grounded? Can you carry a conversation that leaves both of you feeling mentally sharper, not depleted? She craves the company of people who are self-contained, who bring clarity, insight, even silence that feels peaceful rather than awkward. You'll never hear her say, "You're draining me." She won't give you a warning or a second chance. Once she senses that your presence consistently takes more than it gives, she'll quietly step back. No argument, no confrontation, just distance. To most people, it'll feel like she disappeared for no reason. But in her mind, The audit is complete. The results weren't up to standard. Number 3. The Discretion Filter. The Sigma female knows that trust isn't something you declare, it's something you prove. And one of her most subtle tests is how well you can handle sensitive information. She won't make a grand speech about privacy or loyalty. Instead, she'll drop small, carefully chosen pieces of personal information into your conversations. These are not random details. They're designed to see what you'll do with them. She watches everything from that point on. Do you mention what she said to other people? Do you slip her private stories into casual conversations for attention or to show off how close you are to her? Do you use her vulnerability as social currency? Even a minor breach, a careless comment, a subtle brag, tells her everything she needs to know. You're not safe. Sigma females understand that most people are addicted to validation. They reveal what should stay private just to make themselves feel important. She has no patience for that. To her, privacy is not just about secrecy, it's about respect. If you respect her, you guard what she shares with you like it's your own. You don't repeat it, you don't hint at it, and you certainly don't turn it into a topic of casual gossip. She also pays attention to your body language when she opens up. Do you seem eager, like you're collecting information for later? Do your eyes light up as if you've just been handed something valuable? That signals danger. She's not looking for someone who's hungry for her secrets. She's looking for someone steady enough to hold them and never use them. If you pass this test, you might find that over time she shares more. But if you fail, even once, she'll start pulling back. Conversations will become more surface level, more controlled, more distant. And you may never even realize you were being tested. In her world, discretion isn't negotiable. It's mandatory. Number 4, the emotional intelligence calibration. The Sigma female doesn't test your emotional intelligence with dramatic outbursts or emotional chaos. That would be too easy. Instead, she operates in the subtle layers most people miss. She's paying attention to how you respond to the unspoken, the quiet shifts in her mood, the slight change in her voice, the tiny pause before she answers, the tension in her jaw when something bothers her but she doesn't say it outright. This is where the real test happens. Most people only recognize emotions when they're loud and obvious, tears, shouting, or clear words. But Sigma females don't operate on that surface level. They live in the subtle, unspoken spaces. She wants to know if you're tuned in enough to sense when something feels off, even when she's not saying it. Can you feel the temperature in the room change without her having to spell it out? Can you tell when her silence means, "I need space," versus, "I want you to stay, but I can't ask"? It's not about mind reading, it's about presence. She's watching to see if you notice and respond to her emotional shifts with grace and calm. Do you give her space when she quietly signals she needs it? Do you ask the right questions at the right moments without pushing? Can you offer support without making it about yourself? These small things tell her whether you're emotionally capable of handling depth. If you miss these cues, or worse, bulldoze through them with surface-level platitudes like "don't worry" or "you're overthinking," she quietly logs that as emotional laziness. It tells her you're not equipped to handle complexity. And complexity is where she lives. Pass this test, and you'll find her opening up to you in ways very few people ever experience. Fail it, and she'll start to see you as someone who may be good at handling simple emotions but incapable of navigating her real world, the one where everything exists beneath the surface. Number 5, the chaos handling test. The Sigma female knows that life doesn't stay neatly packaged. It throws curveballs, contradictions, and unexpected changes. And if someone can't handle that reality, they won't survive long around her. That's why she quietly tests how well you function when things stop going according to plan. But she doesn't create drama for the sake of it. That would be childish. Her version of chaos is far more controlled and calculated. One moment, she may change the plan last minute. A dinner cancellation, a shift in the conversation, a sudden disinterest in a topic she was passionate about the day before. Other times, she'll casually contradict herself, not because she's confused, but because she understands that many truths can exist simultaneously. She's observing whether you can handle complexity without becoming rigid or defensive. She's watching to see if you get flustered when things aren't black and white. Do you panic when she changes her mind? Do you get irritated when she challenges your certainty? Do you need everything to fit into neat categories to feel comfortable? If you do, she instantly sees that you're fragile when confronted with uncertainty. And fragile doesn't work in her world. In her mind, your ability to stay grounded when the rules shift tells her everything about your mental stability. Can you stay calm, adapt, and continue without losing your emotional center? Or do you try to force predictability back into the situation to soothe your own discomfort? She's not looking for someone who controls chaos. She's looking for someone who can move through it with quiet confidence. If you can embrace ambiguity, adjust without complaint, and remain emotionally steady while everything around you shifts, you pass the test. If not, she knows you're only reliable when life is easy, and that's not the kind of partner or ally she wants. Number 6. The precision listening test. The Sigma female doesn't speak to fill silence. Every word, pause, and shift in her tone carries meaning. But what she's really paying attention to isn't just whether you listen. It's how you listen. Most people hear words, very few absorb essence. That difference is exactly what she's testing. She might bring up a subject that seems simple on the surface but carries layered meaning underneath. Maybe she mentions feeling a bit off, or casually drops a comment about something that frustrated her. She's not fishing for solutions or sympathy. She's placing signals to see if you catch the emotional and psychological currents running underneath her words. Do you hear the hesitation behind her confidence? Do you notice the vulnerability hiding inside the casual statement? Or do you react immediately, trying to fix, explain, or defend yourself without truly understanding what was just shared? The Sigma female has little tolerance for surface-level listeners, the ones who wait for their turn to speak, half hearing her while mentally preparing their next response. She watches for subtle signs. Do you ask thoughtful follow-up questions? Do you reflect back what she actually meant, not just what she literally said? Are you able to sit with complex emotions without rushing to simplify or minimize them? Misinterpretation, especially when it comes from defensiveness, is a major red flag for her. If she shares something nuanced and you immediately take it personally, twist her words, or turn the conversation into a debate, she sees it as emotional immaturity. In her mind, depth means being able to listen without filtering everything through your ego. She values those who can pick up on the unsaid, the spaces between her words where the real truth often sits. If you can extract the heart of what she's communicating, even when she's not spelling it out, you signal to her that you're operating on her level. That's rare. Fail this test and the Sigma female won't argue or correct you. She'll simply stop sharing at that depth. You'll find the conversations growing more shallow, more distant, and you may never even realize why. To her, precision in listening isn't just a skill. It's a measure of your emotional intelligence, your presence, and your worthiness to be let deeper into her world. Number 7. The ethical Greyzone test. The Sigma female knows that real life doesn't fit neatly into black and white boxes. She's lived enough, seen enough, and thought deeply enough to understand that most situations exist somewhere in the messy middle. That's why she carefully tests your ability to navigate ethical gray zones. She's not doing this to trap you or catch you saying the wrong thing. She's measuring your capacity to handle complexity without short-circuiting. She'll introduce these scenarios in casual conversation, almost like hypotheticals. It might be a question about loyalty versus honesty, justice versus mercy, ambition versus morality. She might ask what you'd do if you had to choose between betraying a friend or protecting your career, or whether you believe it's ever acceptable to break the rules for a greater good. These aren't random questions. She's reading your thinking process. She's not interested in people who default to cliché answers like, "I always do the right thing," or "It depends on the situation," without any real reflection behind it. Those responses are too safe, too rehearsed, and too shallow. She wants to see how you wrestle with contradictions. Can you sit in moral discomfort and explore both sides of an issue without getting flustered? Can you articulate the complexity Acknowledge the cost of either choice and still own your decision. What she's looking for is mental depth, not perfection. She understands that there are situations where no option is entirely clean. She values people who can acknowledge that reality without collapsing into indecision or hiding behind moral absolutism to avoid responsibility. She wants to know, do you think for yourself? Can you face difficult ethical dilemmas without panicking? Can you live with your choices even when they carry consequences? If you show that you're capable of seeing nuance, she'll respect you, even if your answers don't match her own. But if you reveal that you need clear-cut rules to feel secure, or if you dodge the discomfort by oversimplifying everything into right and wrong, she quietly recognizes your limits. For the Sigma female, the ability to handle ethical gray zones signals emotional maturity, intellectual depth, and true independence. Without it, you're simply not operating on her level, and she won't waste time trying to pull you up. Number 8. The intellectual sovereignty test. The Sigma female doesn't need a partner who agrees with her on everything. She doesn't even need someone who thinks like her. What she absolutely requires, though, is someone who thinks for themselves. That's why one of her most silent but decisive tests is whether you possess intellectual sovereignty, the ability to form your own opinions without simply adopting whatever the world hands you. She pays attention to how you speak about big topics: politics, relationships, success, morality, even random social debates. Are your views original? Are they the product of your own reflection? Or are you just echoing whatever is trending at the moment? If every thought you express sounds like it was pulled from a podcast, a viral post, or the latest self-help book, she knows you're not thinking. You're repeating. She's especially alert to the little phrases people use without even realizing it. The buzzwords, the overused slogans, the recycled arguments that signal intellectual laziness. The moment she hears you speak in these pre-packaged sound bites, she registers it as a red flag. To her, parroting popular narratives is a sign of someone who fears stepping outside the group. And Sigma females don't respect groupthink. What she's looking for isn't necessarily agreement with her views. In fact, respectful disagreement can earn you more points. What matters is that your views are yours. She wants to see that you've challenged your own beliefs, questioned the narratives you grew up with, and arrived at your conclusions through real introspection, not borrowed talking points. She's not impressed by how many books you've read or how many debates you've won. She's looking for depth. Can you hold conflicting ideas in your head without short-circuiting? Can you question your own thinking without needing constant validation? Can you acknowledge uncertainty without falling apart? If you show her that you possess intellectual sovereignty, you'll unlock a rare level of respect from her. She knows how rare it is to meet someone who stands firmly in their own mind. But if you fail this test, you may never even know. She'll simply detach, knowing that without true independence of thought, you'll never truly match her depth or survive her world. Number 9. The silence tolerance test. The Sigma female knows that silence reveals people in ways words never can. She doesn't fear it. In fact, she uses it carefully, deliberately, as a way to see who you really are underneath the surface-level chatter. At some point, usually without warning, she'll let silence stretch between you. She won't rush to fill it, won't throw in small talk to ease the gap. She'll simply sit in it and watch. This isn't about playing mind games or trying to make you uncomfortable. It's far more subtle and honest than that. She's observing your relationship with emptiness. Can you sit in that space calmly, without fidgeting, panicking, or forcing meaningless words just to avoid the void? Or do you scramble to fill every quiet second with nervous laughter, forced jokes, or safe, generic topics? Most people are terrified of silence. To them, it feels like social failure, like something's gone wrong. But to the Sigma female, silence is where depth lives. It's where real comfort shows up. If you can sit in silence with her and remain composed, relaxed, and fully present, she reads that as emotional stability and self-possession. You're not dependent on constant stimulation or noise to feel okay. You don't need to perform to keep her engaged. You're comfortable simply being. She's also paying attention to why you speak. Are you talking because you have something meaningful to say, or because you're running from the stillness? People who compulsively fill silence often reveal their own insecurities, their fear of being seen too clearly, or their discomfort with vulnerability. She notices every bit of it, not just the words, but the energy behind them. When someone passes this test, the Sigma female feels a rare sense of safety. She knows you're grounded enough to handle not only your own emotions, but hers too. You're not rattled by quiet moments. You respect space. And in her world, that's an extremely rare trait. Fail it, and you'll never get close enough to see her full depth. She'll keep the interaction light, distant, and controlled, because to her, someone who can't handle silence is not ready to handle her. Number 10. The self-containment gauge. The Sigma female values self-containment above almost anything else because it's the foundation of how she lives her own life. She's fiercely independent, comfortable in her own company, and completely at peace with solitude. And she expects anyone who enters her world to operate from that same emotional center. That's why she quietly studies how well you handle yourself when you're left alone. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. She watches for the signs early. How often do you need attention? Do you constantly check in? Do you seek reassurance, compliments, or frequent validation to feel secure? Do you get restless or anxious when she's unavailable, or when plans fall through? These little behaviors tell her whether you're grounded in yourself or anchored to external sources for your sense of worth. She knows that many people crave constant connection because they're uncomfortable facing themselves. They fear stillness because stillness forces them to confront their insecurities, doubts, and emptiness. But the Sigma female doesn't want someone who uses her as a distraction from their own unresolved issues. She's not looking for someone to complete her, and she won't play that role for anyone else. Instead, she's drawn to those who thrive in their own solitude. She respects people who pursue their own interests, who can spend time alone without feeling lost, and who don't crumble in moments of distance or space. The ability to be alone and remain fulfilled signals emotional maturity, self-awareness, and stability, all non-negotiable traits in her eyes. She's not impressed by grand gestures of affection or constant declarations of how much you need her. In fact, that kind of neediness suffocates her. She doesn't equate love with dependency. She equates love with mutual strength. Two self-contained individuals choosing to share their lives, not leaning on each other like crutches. If you show signs of emotional self-sufficiency, she'll open up more, knowing she's not inviting chaos into her life. But if you show neediness, even subtly, she won't confront you. She'll simply pull back, letting the distance grow until you fade out entirely. In her world, emotional independence isn't a bonus, it's the bare minimum. Number 11. The intellectual curiosity probe. The Sigma female doesn't just value intelligence, she values curiosity. To her, raw intelligence without curiosity is like having a sports car you never drive. It's useless if you're not constantly pushing it somewhere new. That's why she carefully observes how wide your intellectual world really is. She wants to see if your mind has room to grow, to stretch, to wander into unfamiliar territories without fear. She'll casually bring up topics that fall outside of most people's comfort zones. Philosophy, psychology, art, science, human behavior, history, even uncomfortable social issues. She's not doing this to show off or test your knowledge. She's studying your reaction. Do your eyes light up with interest? Do you engage with thoughtful questions? Or do you shut down, change the subject, or offer shallow, dismissive answers because you don't know or don't care? You don't need to be an expert in everything. What matters to her is your openness, your willingness to explore unfamiliar ideas, even if they challenge what you already believe. She notices whether you get defensive when presented with a perspective you've never considered. She pays attention to whether you're eager to learn or whether you secretly believe you already know enough. Intellectual stagnation, for the Sigma female, is a dead end. She has zero patience for people who cling to one fixed worldview and refuse to evolve. If your curiosity is limited to your career, your hobbies, or your personal comfort zone, she sees that as intellectual laziness. She lives in a constant state of learning, and if you can't keep up, she knows eventually the conversations will run dry, the connection will thin out, and boredom will set in. She's drawn to people who can sit for hours exploring ideas, even the ones that don't directly benefit them. People who read for no reason other than to feed their minds. People who enjoy challenging their own perspectives. People who are as comfortable saying, "I don't know," as they are confidently sharing their insights. If you show that kind of intellectual curiosity, you gain access to a part of her very few people ever reach. But if your world is small and rigid, she won't argue or try to expand it for you. She'll simply step away, knowing that you were never built to travel the depths where she operates. Number 12. The scar tissue examination. The Sigma female knows that everyone carries scars, emotional, mental, sometimes even physical. What matters to her isn't whether you've been wounded. She expects you have. What she's studying is your relationship with those wounds. Do you wear your scars like a badge of wisdom or like chains that still control you? That difference tells her everything she needs to know. At some point, she'll subtly guide the conversation toward your past. Your failures, heartbreaks, betrayals, losses. She's not prying for gossip or seeking drama. She's reading your posture when you talk about these things. Are you bitter? Do you speak like life owes you something? Do you constantly blame others for what's happened? Or do you speak with a quiet understanding of what you've endured without letting it control your identity? Victimhood is an instant disqualification for her. She has no patience for people who are still trapped in old narratives of blame and self-pity. Life is hard. People fail. People leave. Bad things happen. She knows that. What she wants to see is whether you've extracted wisdom from those experiences or whether you're still emotionally stuck in them. She also pays attention to your level of self-awareness. Can you own your part in your failures? Can you reflect on how you've grown because of them? Do you speak with humility, acknowledging both the pain and the lessons, or do you posture as if you've figured it all out? The Sigma female deeply respects those who've been broken and rebuilt themselves without becoming bitter or arrogant. She's looking for emotional maturity, the kind that comes only from wrestling with pain and using it to sharpen your character. If you've turned your wounds into wisdom, you'll earn her rare trust and admiration. But if you're still defined by what others have done to you, she sees that as weakness, the kind of weakness that leads to emotional volatility, blame cycles, and dependency. She won't argue or correct you if you fail this test. She'll simply drift away, knowing that while your story may be tragic, you lack the strength to match her depth. And she has no interest in rescuing anyone who hasn't rescued themselves first. The Sigma female's tests are not games. They're not power plays or manipulations meant to entertain her ego. They are quiet, precise filters designed to protect the fortress she's built within herself. A fortress forged through solitude, self-mastery, deep thought, and brutal life lessons. She's not testing you to see if you're perfect. She's testing to see if you're real and rare. Every one of her silent evaluations cuts beneath surface-level charm, beyond words, and deep into your emotional, intellectual, and psychological core. She's watching how you handle your own scars. She's observing whether your thoughts belong to you or have been handed to you by the world. She's measuring your ability to stand still in silence, navigate complexity without collapsing, and manage your own urges without being babysat. She's testing whether you can remain grounded in shifting social dynamics, hold your integrity under pressure, and operate with the kind of self-possession most people never even attempt to achieve. And here's the brutal truth. Most people fail. Not because they're bad people, but because the standards required to pass these tests are brutally high. The Sigma female has no interest in average connections. She isn't looking for comfort, attention, or companionship just for the sake of having someone there. She values quality over quantity, depth over convenience, and substance over flash. If you meet her standards, it won't be because you impressed her with grand gestures or smooth words. It will be because your very existence proved you could stand beside her as a fully formed, sovereign individual. She doesn't need saving, fixing, or entertaining. She needs someone who can meet her on the high ground. Steady, self-contained, intellectually alive, emotionally stable, and unshaken by the inevitable storms of life. Someone who doesn't collapse under pressure but instead thrives in complexity. Someone who doesn't demand constant reassurance, validation, or control, but who operates from their own internal compass. And if you pass, if you survive these silent, often invisible tests, you earn access to something few ever will, the loyalty, depth, and partnership of a Sigma female. A connection that's rare, unforced, and built not on convenience, but on unshakable mutual respect. If you found value in this breakdown of the hidden tests Sigma females use, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and tells me you want more brutally honest, next-level content like this. Subscribe if you haven't already. We go far deeper than clichés here, and every week I drop new insights you won't hear anywhere else. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which of these tests surprised you the most? Or have you experienced them yourself? I read every comment, and your perspectives fuel the conversations we build together here. And finally, if you know someone who needs to hear this, or who would appreciate this level of depth, share this video with them. Help me spread the word and keep raising the bar. Thank you for being part of this growing tribe of thinkers who aren't afraid to go beyond the surface. I'll see you in the next one.